Hi, this is Bob Samuels. I'm founder of TechConnectr. TechConnectr is a marketplace and a campaign management platform of best-of-breed account-based marketing operations solutions, helping marketers deliver highly targeted quality leads for their sales teams. We've partnered with the B2B Marketing Expo to bring you wisdom from leading account-based marketing thought leaders. To that end, I'm proud to introduce David Lewis, founder and CEO of DemandGen, a leading marketing automation consulting firm. Hi, David. How are you today?
Good. Thanks for having me, Bob. Appreciate the time together.
Yeah, it's nice to reconnect. It's always a pleasure to speak with you.
Looking forward
So,
to seeing you at the B2B MX, which is the topic, I guess, of the day for us.
absolutely. So February 25th to 27th, it's going to be outstanding, and I understand you're going to be presenting the keynote on agents of change.
I am. This is we've done the event, either attended or participated from a content perspective for all of them, and I think that Andrew and Sal do a really great job. I'm always asked by our clients, "Hey, what event should I go to next year?" When they start the planning process, and this has been one that I consider now table stakes because of the content that they have and the format of it. A lot of the events are super expensive for one thing, and I think that when you're paying as much money for some of the conferences that you go to, you're setting this mental bar that I really better walk away with some great stuff. And what I always hear that's wonderful about this conference is the cost is very reasonable to go. The venue's wonderful. And yet it exceeds their expectations because the content's very, very solid. It's not salesy. It's not pitchy. It's very educational and very prescriptive, especially the workshops on Monday. It's good stuff.
And I can double that. I've been to dozens and dozens of events, and the B2B MX is one of my absolute favorites. I've always come
Agreed.
away very happy with it. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward
It's
to it. And I understand your group's also going to be leading a account-based marketing and lead management workshop on
Yeah,
Monday.
I
So that'll
started
be
telling
great.
Andrew and those guys, we've known each other for a decade now. And I told them, look, anytime you want help with content, whether it's training workshops or participation, let me know. And he said, Dave, I've consulted with him about the strategy from the book that I'm working on called Agents of Change, and told him some of the content from it. And he said, I think it is the perfect keynote if you would be interested in doing that on Monday. So I said, absolutely. And so Monday afternoon, I'll be doing the keynote, which is entitled Agents of Change. And I know that every marketer and salesperson will get value and walk away with a lot of thoughts about 2019 and how they're approaching customer experience. And then Will Wah, who's one of our senior consultants, he is leading a workshop on Monday, which is on ABM and lead management. And happy to talk to both of those today.
Beautiful, beautiful. So what kind of changes are you seeing?
Well, the Agents of Change book that I'm working on and what I've encapsulated into the keynote is really geared towards people thinking about, are they an agent of change? And what's interesting that we see in so many of our engagements is that you have almost two personas. You have the people who come into a company and they're new. Excuse me, just finishing up getting over a week and a half of cold. Um, they're new. They're the new sheriff in town. And because they're new in the organization, they're expected to bring around change, dramatic change. And people look to them for what they are now thinking of doing and how to take the company in new and exciting directions. Whereas people that have been around for a while, when they reach out to us or are looking for consulting or input on their marketing technology or sales technology or methodologies, they feel like something's not going well, but they're also really hesitant because a lot of times the team that's in place are the teams that worked on those things. So there's this caution. There's like, well, we know things aren't ideal and we need to improve things, but how do we go about bringing about change? Telling people, hey, we got to move that cheese. We got to redo this. So a lot of the book really helps not only paint a picture of what it takes to be an agent of change and bring about change in your organization, whether that's your team or as a leader of an entire organization. but also what's happening out there these days and the dramatic changes that have taken place in the digital era. So people will walk away from my session thinking about customer experience and whether they are delighting their customers and what it takes to do that, what the expectations of people are today as buyers, but also how to be that agent of change and really where you need to focus your efforts from a sales and marketing perspective again in this era.
Wonderful, wonderful. And so, what kind of technology are you working with as far as enabling the change agents?
Well, all of the B2B companies that we work with, table stakes are things like marketing automation. They're using one of the leading marketing automation systems. They have CRM. And by the way, we find that for those that are using CRM, if they picked one of the leading CRMs like a Salesforce.com, they're set up for success, or even a system like Microsoft Dynamics. When they try to take a less expensive route or a less conventional route, they end up really struggling. So marketing can struggle because the marketing automation system is not as well integrated with the CRM as some of those other platforms that I mentioned, and vice versa. The sales team is not receiving the benefit of the sales enablement technologies and really true synchronization between a CRM and marketing automation. But those platforms are table stakes, and I got to say, like everybody coming to the B2B has those systems already in place. What they've probably also invested in is a range and set of technologies, in their Martech stack. And what we're finding today, Bob, is that there's been a little bit too much of a spending spree over the past 4 or 5 years, and the processes for buying and selecting technology have not really been well followed. So there's been random acts of investments in tool sets, and so we're spending a lot of time these days helping companies assess their stack, figure out which of those tools they should sunset and move away from, and which are some of the tools that have been enhanced so dramatically that they're not fully leveraging and possibly even overlapping with other tools where they can consolidate. And so there's just a lot of that going on, which is great, and it's good for companies to recognize that there needs to be a greater discipline for the selection and deployment and use of both martech and sales tech. So while you introduced DemandGen as helping people with marketing automation, which may be a legacy positioning or something that's out there today, we're really helping people with full stack marketing and making sure that sales, marketing, and service, customer service, because so much of customer service today is being done online, is all really well stitched together, and all those components work as one seamless infrastructure.
Beautiful. So I know you've had some great experiences consulting with people and educating and learning from different B2B brands and leaders. Who can you give some examples of some of the leaders who have driven change in their organization really well?
Oh, I mean, we'd have to spend a very long time together to go through a whole bunch, but let me hit a couple. One company that I'm really glad that we've been working with over the past year is Paychex, right? And that's not a new brand name for you, right? They've been around for a long time, very successful, sales driven culture. And over the last year, they've invested in marketing technology tools. They've also invested in the education and training of their marketing team to really embrace and use these tools. And a company that really drove all of its success and all of its revenue from a pretty large army of salespeople is now working much better between sales and marketing, not only from an infrastructure perspective, but from a process perspective. And, talk about being an agent of change. Maureen over there, the CMO, and her team, which is Michelle and Ari, have really had to work very closely to build trust and rapport with the sales team and say, hey, the way that we're going to market, let's take a look at what we might want to do in this digital era of transformation, and let's take a look at our click to close process and think about who owns what and how we're going to work together as one team and drive as much revenue and growth as possible. And let's not also forget about our install base, because so much of their revenue is based on those clients renewing every year, and you've got the bar is so high these days. I mean, what matters most is customer experience, and I'm going to be talking a lot about that in the keynote, and these guys really get that. And so are they at the end of their journey? No, the journey never ends, but they are in massive transformation and already seeing the impact that's happening from their nurture programs and from the systems that they have now really optimized and put in place from a lead scoring perspective and getting into ABM. And they're putting their reports and dashboards together where they can now show better than ever marketing's contribution and impact to not only revenue but also the impact of this transformation. So they're one great example, Bob. And like I said, I've got a lot for you. Um, Also seeing what is very nice is the better adoption of tools, right? As I said earlier, these shopping sprees. So we've got a lot of our clients that take a much more disciplined approach in the rolling out of things like lead scoring, sales enablement, and ABM, and recognizing that these are not set it and forget it projects. These are ones that need constant sales training and coaching and adoption because you can't just, just like we never should have thrown leads over the fence to sales and wish them good luck, right? We can't put tools and technology out there. So, got a lot of clients that are doing a great job with the use and adoption of tools on the sales perspective, right? Because sales, as you know from your background, sales is an entry point for new leads and new contacts, right? They've got tools today where they can enrich and add to the database. And we've got to make sure that marketing and sales works well together when we're adding records to the database and adding personas and segments that we can target. So this past year, we worked with about 100 different companies, and most all of our clients are large enterprises. We've been blessed to work with really the who's who in technology. Very impressed with all the work that LinkedIn has done over the years. CenturyLink has also done a phenomenal job. CenturyLink's incredibly strong with data, which is a topic we could spend a lot of time on. I mean, they take data very seriously because they know that data management and data operations, when done well, is going to drive tremendous insights and impact into better marketing and better selling. So I give Scott Burns and Kate the great credit for all the work that they do and their passion for data.
Beautiful, beautiful. So tell us a little bit about the ABM and lead management workshop. How's that gonna roll out? What can someone expect?
Anyone attending that workshop, and I would encourage anyone to attend that workshop if they fall into two areas. One, if ABM is new to them, and I don't mean the acronym, I mean the discipline of establishing target accounts, the discipline and what's required for scoring leads, and therefore then scoring accounts and measuring account engagement. For anyone who is talking or thinking about how are they going to do content personalization at scale. Like if you've established a set of target accounts, how do you treat them unique and distinct? What level of engagement and type of engagement should you be doing and how do you approach content personalization? So a very prescriptive workshop on, these are the recipes that we've put into place with other clients of ours. And Western Union's one of those that we did, 2 or 3 day full length workshop with them to get them well set up for ABM success. And so what attendees to this event will get to participate in our workshop is um, a condensed version of that, but leave with very practical insights around account targeting, like I said, around content personalization, how to assemble your buying committee and enrich your database with contacts, score them in the accounts, and then really monitor engagement. And lastly, Bob, talk about how do you keep score from an ABM perspective? What are the categories of ABM metrics? So what do you measure, and how do you know if it's working? And then we will touch on, but it's the last piece, which is an ABM stack discussion. And because it's a workshop, because it's several hours, not only will be able to provide great training and information to the attendees, there will be a lot of interactivity. So they can, I know you subscribe to this theory, which is, some of the best things you get at these conferences is birds of a feather, right? When you're all there around smart, talented, experienced people, the workshop's going to surface a lot of what to do and what not to do from other attendees inside the group.
Wonderful. I look forward to attending that. That sounds great.
Yeah, Will does a great job. Been on our team for a long time, and it's almost like when you hire somebody. Like if you hire someone and their resume has 4 or 5 different companies in their past, well, great. but guys like Will and other members of our team, and they work with hundreds of companies, so they bring all those recipes for success and lessons of what not to do
Sure.
into every engagement, which is awesome.
Outstanding. So I look forward to seeing you at the event. So is there anything I forgot to ask you? Anything worth sharing right now?
Well, we'll talk about tech and we'll talk about methodologies and that type of stuff at the show. What I really am most excited about in my keynote, which I start off, is really talking about the day of a person, and how much their day has changed. And it's a great kickoff because it really gets you to step back and go, wow, the world has changed. I mean, look at the number of people that are taking Uber. Look at, my mother-in-law just this past holiday, she goes, "This is the very first time in my life," and she's now in her 70s, "that I didn't set foot in a store to do any shopping for the kids or grandkids." And we talked a lot about that. And so I'm going to talk about how much the world has changed and what that means to marketing and to sales in a way that this is the third time that I've given this presentation the last several months, and I always have people come up to me saying, "So thought provoking, really makes me go back and think about our customer experience and how we need to really up our game," and I flesh out really what customers are expecting today. So I think it'll be a nice change, candidly, Bob, from a lot of the content at the conference, because so much will be on specific methodologies, whether it's ABM or scoring or content marketing. And this is a really level up discussion around customer experience and how to approach today's modern buyer.
Beautiful. I look forward to it. So that will be Monday the 25th,
Yeah, I think it's at 4 o'clock on Monday is
4 o'clock.
the keynote, and then the workshops are all earlier in the day, starting I think at now
Excellent.
around 9:30.
Excellent. And I'll provide registration opportunities for 25% discount on our website for people who are interested
Nice.
in joining. So I think it'll be great. So I look forward to seeing you there. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you, Bob. Thanks for reaching out to me, and I look forward to seeing you and everybody. Like I said, I mean, if you're going to pick a show, one show, or just a couple shows, keep this into your mix. Those guys do a phenomenal job. The networking is tremendous. The venues are awesome, and the content will not disappoint. They do a really good job of breaking out, different tracks so that there's something for everybody every single hour. And if there's any stress that's created with the event, it's oh my God, I'm going to leave with a bunch of great ideas. So I always encourage everyone to leave some time at the end or on the flight back to say, okay, what are the 4 or 5 things I'm going to do next from everything that I learned? But people will dig it. It's a great event, and I'm glad these guys continue to grow. It's going to be, I think, well over 1,000 people this year. I don't know if Andrew shared any numbers for you, but they just keep
Wow.
growing it like crazy. And yet it has, as you know, a very intimate feel because of the layout and format and the way they do all the social networking events.
Yeah, the problem is there's too many good speakers all at the same time. You have to pick and choose. But
Yeah,
that's a nice
well, that's
problem.
that's that's a good problem to have. Yeah, exactly.
All right. It's a pleasure, David. I look forward to seeing you.
You too. I'll see you soon. Take care.
Thank you. Cheers.